Hey there, this is my quick beginner guide using Collection Pool 1 decks, and we're going to be featuring a Kazar Zoo style deck, but it's going to have a little bit of a twist, which we'll get into just a little bit. Now, I think this deck is honestly the strongest one that you can be playing at Pool 1. It absolutely dominated for me when I played, and I've only been playing for about a week. I actually managed to hit infinite rank in just 2 days of playing. You can see here, I'm sitting here at 120, which is pretty damn awesome. The game is built in such a way that within the first couple of days, you can actually climb to incredibly high ranks without being met up against harder decks. Now, I did play for about 30 hours because I was obviously very addicted. So, results may vary, but this is a great deck if you are looking to climb. So before we get into a couple of games, I just want to go over the cards, talk a little bit about them, as well as the strengths and weaknesses and general gameplay of the deck. So you can see right here, here's our full deck list, and I honestly don't think I would change anything about this. I basically have all the Pool 1 cards at this point, and they're all fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into the cards. So first off, we look at Ant-Man. This is pretty much a one-drop that you should be playing in most of your decks. It's really easy to build our deck out and have all 4 cards going, just because we're going to be playing a lot of one-drops. So really, Ant-Man getting his buff, getting that 4 power, it's going to be super easy to do. Absolutely would play him. Elektra. When we're playing here in these beginner Pool 1 decks, so many people are playing other small zoo-style decks that have a lot of one-drops, so you can almost always guarantee Elektra will get some value, and if she can hit an Ant-Man or a Nightcrawler, I mean, that's just money. You can almost snap just off of that. Next, we look at Korg. Now, this guy absolutely rocks. I really think he's one of my favorite cards in this deck, and he's just been a great pick. I don't think people realize just how awesome it is to make them draw a rock. That's basically a dead card for them that turn. And you don't really play a lot of decks right now that are drawing a lot of cards. So Korg early, I think it's something like a 50% chance that they're going to draw a rock sometime in the game. So if I see him in my opening hand, he's almost always my turn 1 move. Definitely play Korg if you have him. I absolutely love this card. And I hope more people kind of fall in love with him too. Now we got Nightcrawler. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I'd probably play him in almost every single deck at this level. The ability to move is just really damn powerful right now because you can play him early and then move him to a location that's going to suit him better. And on top of that, you're going to be able to kind of, like, when you've kind of decided what locations need that extra firepower, you can then move him. So you're not really committed to a decision. And you can just, play him safe on turn 1. And he just does his job all the time. This is a great card. I would definitely not get rid of this one. Now, Rocket Raccoon is maybe the only pick that's a little controversial in this deck. And at first I didn't like the idea of you had to high roll to hit the card, but the important thing to realize is that when he does high roll and he gets that 4 power, he can almost carry a lane on his own just because he is so damn strong. And even if he doesn't, remember, this is a Kazar Blue Marvel style deck that's going to be buffing up all the other cards that you have. So at the end of the day, the important thing to know is that all of these one-drops that we just went over, it doesn't really matter if they get the most value or not, just because having the 1-drop means that they're eventually going to get buffed. That's the most important thing. Now, Blade is a little different. Blade's actually pretty core to this deck with the cards that we have. I would say Blade, Strong Guy, and America Chavez are kind of a package on their own that if you don't have them, I probably wouldn't play this deck, and I would instead recommend playing a more traditional Kazar style deck that has things like Squirrel Girl, or you can play a different beginner style deck, so something like the Dinosaur or like an Odin on reveal deck. But if you have these, definitely check this deck out because it absolutely owns. Now, when we talk about Blade, the important thing to know about Blade is you actually don't want to be playing this early. If you do, and you discard a card that you really needed, you're going to get pretty upset. You're going to blame it on RNG. But you actually want to be saving this for turn 5 or turn 6, where you can set up very powerful turns to empty your hand Or if you can already empty your hand, then you just play Blade and he discards nothing because you have an empty hand. So we'll talk a little bit more about this when we talk about Strong Guy, but important usage of Blade is kind of key to winning with this deck. Let's go over Angela. Apparently this card used to be even stronger. It's been nerfed since, but she still remains a complete powerhouse. Every time you play a card here, you're getting 2 power, and it's really, really easy to play at least 3 cards in the same location as her, which gets her to 6 power. And what's more is if you have Nightcrawler, you can play Nightcrawler on the same location as Angela, and then move him, which will allow you to play another card in that location, and that brings Angela up to 8 power off of 4 procs, which is insane. I mean, you're hard winning the lane if you can get that many procs on Angela. Similar to Angela, our only 3-drop in this deck, we have our Wolfsbane, plus 2 power for each other card you have here. So let's say we already have 3 cards in that. Now you're getting her up to 7 power, which is, I mean, that's a lot of power for 1 card. The only thing that's important to know here is that this deck really relies on playing on curve, not always getting the maximum value out of cards. There's a lot of times where I'll play a Wolfsbane in a location that has 1 or 2 cards, just because I need to get it out of my hand. I want to be playing my energy as efficiently as possible. I don't want to be sitting on cards trying to max out value from them. Now we get into our 4 core cards. These ones right here. We got our Kazar. Your 1-cost cards have +1 power. And again, this is what makes the deck work. This is why we run so many 1-drops, because Kazar just turns them into powerhouses on their own. And you can really go nice and wide. You can play your cards kind of everywhere and fight for all 3 locations, because Kazar is going to just make your cards that much stronger. Absolute must-have in the deck, and you generally want to be playing him almost every time when you have him in your game. Just like that, we also have, we'll skip Strong Guy for just a sec here. We'll talk about Blue Marvel. Same idea, but this time there is no restriction. It's just all of your other cards have +1 power. So just like Kazar, we want to be playing it when we have it. However, because he is 5 mana, there are some times where you just need to be a little bit careful about playing him, because we want to be setting up our strong turn 5 and turn 6 using this package of Strong Guy, Blade, and America Chavez. So let's talk about that. Strong Guy, ongoing if your hand is empty, +6 power. Now, 10 power is a lot of power for 4 energy. So this guy can pretty much solo win a lane. And the important thing to know for this deck is that we generally want to be winning 1 lane or 2 lanes, contesting them with our strong early game drops that have been buffed by Kazar or Blue Marvel. And then 1 lane is going to be just dominated by a really strong guy. Or if we can't empty our whole hand, but at the end of turn 6, we'll just use America Chavez as our powerful finisher tool. Now, you might be thinking, well, how do we empty our hand and we have America Chavez? Kind of have 2 goals with this deck using Blade. You either want to be on turn 5, you want to empty your whole hand, that way on turn 6 you have a guaranteed 6-drop that you can play. Or, if that's not going to work, what you can also try to do is basically sack the Chavez. You know you're going to have it, but then you can play a strong turn to 6, discard the Chavez, and then now your Strong Guy is going to be set up. So the most important thing for this deck is to always be thinking about, how is my Strong Guy, my Blade, and my Chavez going to work? Obviously, Strong Guy is a really damn powerful card, but don't get baited in him too much. Sometimes it's just not going to work, and you don't have to, throw the whole entire game just to make sure that your whole deck is discarded. You can basically just say, okay, we're not going to play Strong Guy this game, and instead we're going to focus on Chavez and our strong 1-cost cards to win the game. So the quick strengths about this deck is I think it's very, very simple, which is really good if you're, if you're a new player who might not be familiar with all of the locations yet. It's going to give you a lot of time to focus more on, what you'll be able to kind of see the game out without being so stuck in your own game plan. And also, if you're coming from another card game like myself, I came from Hearthstone, I think it really rewards good fundamentals. There's not really a lot of like crazy combos that you're doing here, and it doesn't really rely on a lot of like game knowledge or game sense. You're not really reading your opponent that much, or trying to figure out what they're playing. You kind of just play your deck. And also, strengths are it's pretty damn cheap. There's not really a lot of cards here that are difficult to get. Obviously, it's a little random in how you get cards, but you should get all these cards, within like a couple weeks playing at most. Now, the only weakness I really have with this deck is that it is a little bit simple. I know I said that was a strength, but on the weakness side, it can feel a little bit boring to play. Once you kind of get the hang of it, the cards sort of play themselves, and you're not really going to see as many like flashy combos. Obviously, this is here in Pool 1, so there's not a lot of combos anyways, but as far as Pool 1 decks go, this is definitely probably one of the more simpler ones you can do. But again, it's not brain dead just because you do have to think about how you're going to discard your hand. Other than that, the only weakness is you really want to be fighting for all three locations. So if there's a hot location like the Sanctum Sanctorum where you can't play any cards in there, that might kind of scuff this deck a little bit, and you might be better off playing something else. So let's go ahead and get into a few games just so I can showcase the strength of these cards as well as give you a bit of the gameplay sense. Again, we're sitting here 120, which is pretty awesome. Hopefully we get some good games though. And I can also show you a little bit about how I want to snap. Generally, this deck is not one that's you're not really snapping every time with it. But it is really, really consistent. So you're often walking away with 2 cubes or 4 cubes, just consistently. And when everything goes wrong, you can just walk away with your 1 cube loss, and you don't have to fight all the way for the end. So this is great because we have Blade in our starting hand, which is awesome because we should be able to see if we can combo it with a strong guy later on. What I'll probably go ahead and do here is I'll probably Rocket Raccoon to try to read the Asgard. Nightcrawler on turn 1 is also a great play, but I'll see if I can go ahead and read this. Again, Rocket Raccoon, sometimes you won't get it, but that's okay. It's not really the end of the world, because again, our Kazar is just going to buff it later on, which is more important to us. Here we go, shuffling rocks into our deck. That's not the greatest thing to do, but remember, rocks are also 1-cost cards, so it's actually not that bad, and we'll be able to actually buff our cards pretty damn efficiently. I'll play Nightcrawler here because one of the cool things about Nightcrawler is I can play it here to win Asgard early, and then I can move it later. This deck doesn't really want to draw a lot of cards, so it's actually okay to lose Asgard. What I kind of want to do is perhaps bait him into doing that, and then instead try setting up for one of these ones. So I can actually go ahead right here on Mojo World. And again, I can play Blade here, but I don't want to discard my Kazar, so I'm actually going to chill out, basically, and not do anything. Right now, what it kind of looks like is our Mojo World really wants a lot of cards. We already have a lot on Asgard. So what we can actually try to do is save our Strong Guy or our America Chavez for Subterranea later on, which is also going to be totally fine. Now we got our Kazar out here. This is great. We can go ahead and just play him, move this maybe, and we're in great position. Again, these rocks are fine because we get them out for cheap and they get buffed by Kazar anyway, so a lot better for rocks are better for us than they are for our opponent. So he has a Moon Girl. If you're trying to get better at the game, it's important to try to think about what kind of decks your opponent's running, and you might want to try out some of the other decks just so you get a chance to see it as well. The one thing that I would probably suggest is if you are going to play these other decks, just try to look at like what kind of win conditions they're looking for. So on Girl, Moon Girl likes to play with Dino, the Devil Dinosaur, sorry, which is a really strong card. We'll probably expect to see a Devil Dino in some of these locations, but we can fight against that if we want to. Right here, what I think we can do is go ahead and Wolfsbane. You can see here that we're not going to be able to discard a whole deck, and we don't have a strong guy, so we don't really care. Instead, we just want to play powerful cards and try to win off that. So I can go ahead and play this here, and then over here I can try to start setting up a bit of a combo for the rest of our match. Now from here I can kind of already recognize that He's gonna want to be playing a dinosaur in one of these. So it's going to be a bit of an RNG situation here. So I'm not super comfortable with it, but we do have our Chavez here that we can use to just kind of win a location. We're already winning this one. This one's already ahead. So what we want to do is probably play this here, which is going to be a strong 9-drop that can just win this location. If he plays a dinosaur here, it's okay because he's losing Asgard. Plays a dinosaur here, it's okay because we're winning Subterranean. And we can even go ahead and snap this just because I'm pretty sure we're winning this one for sure. And we can see the rock comes out, and the claw comes out. And you see now we're winning these two. We've won the game. Pretty damn good snap. Easy pickup. Easy 4 cubes. Again, look at just how strong a card like Wolfsbane and Kazar, even though they didn't win this one, they put so much pressure on it that we basically got to win these for free. And again, it's really good that you have alternative win conditions. You don't always have to rely on like Blade and Strong Guy. Hopefully in the next game we can get one that does feature that, just so you can see what it looks like to properly play Blade. But again, don't discount Chavez. If you think about it, Strong Guy has 10 power, right? If you get the effect. Chavez has 9 power on her own. So she's actually just like a really good card that you can just play and like win games off of, which is great. We love to see that. Okay. So again, this is awesome because we have our Korg, right? I'm telling you, this is one of the best 1-drops in the entire game. I freaking love him. Also, Kunlun, this one's pretty fine because we do have a card that can move. So we'll probably want to set up our Nightcrawler somewhere else and then move him later. But Korg early, you want to get the rock in their deck as soon as possible so you can kind of mess with them. Again, when they draw the rock, it's awesome. You've literally skipped the turn, and it's really, really so much value in these early games. Okay, let's see, sewer system. Okay, this is a really good thing to think about because cards that have -1 power, it means that we want to be building a really big dude on there. So we want either our Strong Guy or our Chavez there. We don't really want to be seeing... we don't want to be building like 4 1-drops here because they're all going to get -1 power, which is not really good. So instead, what we'll do is we'll basically take the blind risk and drop Angela here and start building this one, and then we'll put a Strong Guy or a Chavez on this last one, which is going to be great. The good thing about Angela here and why we are okay with saving Nightcrawler is that now what we can do is we can actually go ahead and Nightcrawler now, which is going to actually go ahead and buff Angela. And we can do our Rocket Raccoon, and we can do our Ant-Man, which is going to be a huge thing. Now, this is going to get moved, which is okay, but we can start building on Sewer System right away, and hopefully Strange Academy will move our stuff out of there, because we don't really want to go that hard here. The other good thing about Strange Academy is that our Chavez comes on turn 6. So something like Strange Academy, where you have to basically build your board really, really fast on turn 6. Strange Academy actually works great for that. And we do have our Blade here also. So what we can go ahead and do is we're basically pretty damn confident that we are going to get our Strong Guy to function. So let's throw down our sewer system, or let's throw our Strong Guy on our sewer system. And you can kind of see how we're going to be using our Blade here to win games. He puts the Punisher here. That's fine. We don't really care because it's going to get moved anyways. And now look at this. We have our Blue Marvel and we have our Blade. So here's what we have to do is we have to take a bit of a... We have to kind of drop the Strong Guy. Because our Blue Marvel is simply so strong that if we played our Blade here, and we drop the Blue Marvel, we're kind of giving up a ton of power. He's just going to give us so much power on the board. What I can actually do is Blue Marvel right here, move this guy here, and when we get our Chavez on that very last turn, be able to play her on this last location, and that's going to actually go ahead and set it up for us. So these cards all get moved. It's not really that bad. Everything, we're dominating 2 locations pretty tight here. He's going to struggle quite a bit to win these, and we have our Chavez. She's just going to win us this location right here. Now, the only alternative thing we can possibly think about is, let's say he does have you know, let's say he is winning this. I mean, he does have this claw. He could play something else there. What I might want to do is, instead of playing Strange Academy here, I can actually choose for a bit of a different approach. I can kind of read that he might have an Onslaught, for example. So Onslaught doubles the ongoing effects, which might be what he has. What I can actually think about doing here is instead playing Blade, which is going to, Blade is going to give us just enough power using this strong guy to get over the edge. We can go ahead and try that. I'm not 100% confident because it's a bit of a gamble. But if it is the case, this would win us the game if he drops his Onslaught. Double check. Goes -3. Yeah, we can go ahead and just take this risk. And actually they retreat because our deck is just so damn powerful. Alright, so I want to get just one more match where I can try to showcase Strong Guy a little bit and, you know, perhaps show off a little bit more of his power. In the last couple of games, we kind of just won by playing, you know, strong cards and winning through our buffs. But, you know, Strong Guy is also a really good part of this, a really cool part of this deck, and I want to kind of demonstrate how you want to be using him a little bit to get, you know, big wins. Ongoing is a really cool effect because it's going to help buff our Blue Marvel and our Kazar. So it's actually 2 cards that work great at Onslaught Citadel. So instead we'll play like Angela here and try to, you know, build stuff there. Remember, a really key part of this deck is that it is so flexible around a lot of different locations. And you can kind of focus on, you know, playing around the locations as opposed to like, oh shoot, this came up and now my entire game plan is ruined. In almost any locations, unless you get like a really annoying hot location, you're gonna be winning, and you're gonna be winning pretty consistently. Now we can play Wolfsbane here. Really, I could have played Angela here in Wolfsbane. That was probably a small mistake that I could have made. But this is fine because now, you know, we're just kind of developing power all over. I probably I would put Angela and Wolfsbane here, and then Monster Island is kind of like one for us, and we can focus on some of these others instead. So that's really tragic. We're kind of seeing that line up, which really sucks. But now what we can go ahead and do is we can instead try to, you know, play our Strong Guy. Strong Guy here is great because he's going to get buffed up like crazy if we can get it to work. And now we just need to basically play our Blue Marvel. And on turn 6, we can actually play some other cards instead. I know it sounds a little weird, and it doesn't sound great, but it might just be enough to win us the game, okay? So what we can do is go ahead and... let's see. But this one's pretty much lost. We don't really want to do that. Instead, what I want to try to do is try to compete for this one using Chavez. How I'm going to do that, I'm actually going to play Korg here. I'm going to play the Knight's Crawler here for now because it's going to kind of bait him to think about it. And then we're going to play our Blade here. Now, the reason why is that Blue Marvel, we're kind of spread too thin. I don't want to be spread that thin. I want to instead try to get this guy to win with his ongoing. Discard our Blue Marvel, which seems crazy. In fact, he might be a little shocked that we're even doing that. But what it's actually going to do, and this is kind of why this deck is so awesome, is because now we have an empty hand going into turn 6 with a guaranteed drop that we know we can play. That's going to make our Strong Guy become a absolute juggernaut. And you can see, look at this. This guy is massive, sitting at 18. He's sitting huge. He's going to solo win this. And it almost doesn't even matter what I do now because I can almost win anything I want. This one's already guaranteed because he made the mistake of filling up early. So I can play this here. We know we're losing this, so I might as well move it over. And now check this out. Once we end this game, we can snap back because I'm 100% confident. I should snap a little earlier. Because now I'm 100% confident. We play all of our stuff, and you're going to see this is why you want to be able to use your Blade to get that max power, because we're just dominating now. A huge 8-cube win using the Strong Guy. So if you know how to use your Blade and you know how to empty out your hand on turn 5, you will be able to also get the value from your Chavez and from your Strong Guy and just win games off of that. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. As you can see here, I'm really close to pool 2, so in the next week, basically tomorrow or after I finish this video, I am going to basically dump all my credits, start making pool 2 beginner decks as well, and then try to see how I can climb in the new season using the new card. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like to see more of these kinds of videos, let me know, and I will hopefully make more as I keep playing. Thanks so much.